By playing more and performing less, you've doubled your business revenue in the last 16 months?
Correct.
Just casually.
Casually. It was wild. I did an audit not only in my business, but everywhere else. I was like, holy shit, who's making these decisions about my own life? Are these really like in alignment with who I am? The devastating reality was most of these things aren't your truths.
The correlation between how we relate to our bodies and how we relate to our businesses.
Ooh, body image is so important because it affects in how we participate in our own world. When I'm not feeling good in who I am as a person in my body, I'm not showing up for my people in the way they need me to.
How do we find our confidence in a world that is telling us one standard of beauty is better than others?
That is like the $1 trillion question.
Today, we're having a conversation with one of the alumni from our Expanders Retreat, and it's been so much fun to get to share these women and their growth and their expansion and their business with the Powerhouse Women community. I'm sitting down with Taylor Aasand, and we are talking about all things body image and the effect that our body image can have on our self-worth, on our ambition, on our success. And we're also going to dive into what expansion really looks like. I was actually introduced to a brand new word in this interview called care fronting. You're going to learn what that is and how to be able to bring that radical authenticity and honesty to your business, to your life, and what you want to shift, but also bring the compassion for yourself along the journey. And Taylor is someone who's had an incredible expansion over the last year and a half. I've had a front row seat to it, and we get to pick her brain today on exactly how she has transformed her business and her life from the inside out. Taylor, welcome to Powerhouse Women.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
No, I am.
Jinx.
We've had the opportunity to get to know each other like pretty well over the last year and a half, ever since you attended the very first Expanders Retreat.
Yeah.
You're kind of a lifer now because you've been to all of the things, but I've literally gotten to watch your evolution, not just in your business, which we'll get into that, but who you are as a woman. When you think back to the version of you that walked into the first retreat, March 2024, to the version of you sitting in front of me right now, what do you see as your transformation? Because to me, it's undeniable.
Oh, that means the world to me. And to be seen by you, like I'm thinking back to that version of me in March 2024, and I shared this with you privately, but I walked into that room and I was like, there's been a huge mistake. I somehow got in. I snuck in. They are going to find me out. Like I must, I don't know how this happened, but it was amazing because towards the end of that retreat in Newport, I didn't quite sell myself that I belonged there, but I was like, okay, I could maybe experiment with this idea a little bit more that, a version of me or parts of me belong in rooms with people like this.
Yeah.
And now today, sitting with you, I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. I have something that I know could help someone else. And I think service is a big part of who I am. And so if this conversation or me being who I am in my business and outside of it can help somebody, I'm like, that's my alignment.
What would you say was the internal shift that had to happen? Because yes, like being in a powerful room can absolutely be a catalyst. I've been in powerful rooms that have helped me see myself in a different way, but you did the work. Mm-hmm. So what was that internal shift?
So as part of my business, or a place that I do a lot of work for, we have this phrase called care fronting. It's like a hybrid of being caring and confronting. And I think I had to exercise that with myself. So it was almost like, how can you feel so authentic in the rooms I'm in with my patients or clients? And how can you feel so disconnected from that version of you in literally every other area of my life? And that's what I walked away from Newport with, was like, oh, wow, we have to do an audit, not only in my business, which was super helpful, by the way, but I did an audit everywhere else.
Wow. Okay, what did that look like? Take me into that process of like as you cringe just at the I think even thinking about doing that, anyone who's listening knows how uncomfortable that is.
Mm-hmm. So what was so valuable about Newport was I don't even think I could have considered doing something so vulnerable without having supportive, really just incredible women along my side. So I could share really maybe not so perfect things about myself, or things that I was unhappy with. So I think I was like, okay, I have some people I can trust. And that was harder for me to find in my field, or to find people in my industry that I could relate to on that level. So that was huge. And then I kind of like, it's like, oh, I might as well give this a try. Like, at least I can say I did. And I made some commitments to some people like, okay, I'm going to come back. I signed up for the next expanders right away. And that was actually a really helpful timeline for me. Like, okay, I want to come back expanded. Mm-hmm. And I think this is how I'm going to do it. And that was super helpful to have a timeline.
Oh my gosh. It really is that the combination of the two. It's like that moment of radical honesty.
Yeah.
Taking a look and being honest about what's not working, what you're not happy with. We talked about this at the Phoenix Expanders Retreat, like how powerful the energy of dissatisfaction, allowing ourselves to be dissatisfied. And then you're like now I'm aware I need to go take some action around it. But then that accountability piece, because a lot of times those actions are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And part of what happens, and it happens for me as well, being in the room with all of you who are my peers, it's like, because we're so aware and we also are being held up this mirror of who we could be, you almost can't help but expand, because now you see it. You see the dissatisfaction, but you also see the possibility and who you can become on the other side. Mm-hmm. And just watching you in particular step into that, it's a whole physical change. You physically look differently. Your energy is different. The embodiment of who you are is different. It's so fucking powerful.
Thank you.
It's my favorite. So thanks for being here just so I could be in your energy.
Oh gosh, I wouldn't want to even be anywhere else.
But there was something you submitted so I always have every podcast guest just kind of fill out a couple of questions so that I can really drop into what I want to pull out in the interviews. And I want you to expand on this, because you added in your form that by playing more and performing less, you've doubled your business revenue in the last 16 months. Is that correct?
It is correct.
And you have the data to back it up.
I even triple checked. So in this audit that I did right after Newport, and to be honest, like the foundation of things was already there. So it wasn't like it was time, and Newport helped me really carefront myself with like times now, baby.
I love that term, by the way. I'm going to carefront myself.
Carefront myself. It's good. It's helpful, because we're not like shaming ourselves in this process, right? We're just being like, honey, like these things are not working. And like, you can't outwork this situation or scenario you're in. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking at the numbers, and there was some low-hanging fruit, let me tell you.
In your business, you mean?
Oh, yeah. Like, and it was some of these like little nuggets that I love, these things that like you just hear a side conversation or someone says something like offhanded, and you're like, I could do that. Like, you're hearing what this person's charging for this. We're having those conversations. Someone might say something like, oh, you should just do that. And you're like, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I might as well, in this 6-month timeline between I was going to be at the next expanders, I just like restructured some things. Mm-hmm. And I really felt like if all of this fails, I can always just do things the way I was doing.
You can always go back. That's so true.
Right? Like, if I already got here, and I try all this other stuff, I'm not going to lose what I've already been able to maintain. Mm-hmm. Or that's a belief I have. So that felt actually like really low risk. I was like, I'm going to increase these prices. I'm going to bundle this. I'm going to change these services to retainers. And I actually did the same amount of work, but then, my revenue doubled in 16 months.
Just casually.
It was wild.
It's the reminder that, and all of that was the possibility of that was always there. It was the internal shift within you and how you were relating to the business.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about this distinction between playing more and where you realize maybe you were performing in your business. Can you speak to those energies and how practically that looks in your day-to-day now, how you operated before versus how you operate now?
So in preparing for this conversation, I was like, okay, I want to get like kind of clear on my journey, like my story. And, you know, I love these things like human design that feel really true to me. I love the work I've done with my individual therapist on like, okay, here's what some of your strengths are, right? Here's some of these areas that we want to strengthen. And I think what makes me so special as a practitioner is I can really see people and I can meet them in their humanity. I really struggled to do that with myself. And so I've been a performer for a long time. And so I was doing all these things in my business, outside of my business, because someone thought I should, or I knew that's what people expected of me. And again, in this audit I did in Newport, I was like, holy shit, who's making these decisions about my own life? You know, I consented to all of them. Yeah, but are these really like in alignment with who I am? And like the devastating reality was most of these things aren't your truths. And so again, I kind of had this in the back of my mind. I've already built this so far. Worst case scenario, if I like start being more in alignment or speaking my truths, or if this is the wrong move, I can come back to this place. I've, you know, been living in it for so long, but I got to at least try something new. And so I started with like the little things, like recognizing what maybe my younger version of me needed, right? We love some inner child work. So it's like, okay, what does playing more as an adult, like I don't want little Taylor to start calling the shots. That's where dangerous things start to happen. But like, what would that version of me be proud of doing today? And it's like, a recent example is like me and my two boys, we're going on a Disney cruise, right? So that's play. Like I need to play. I need to get together with my girlfriends. I need to stop taking myself so seriously. Just because someone has these set of rules, you know, why do I need to subscribe to them? And what's interesting is that's what a lot of conversations in my office with clients sound like, right? And that can be from like an eating disorder lens or like a body image expectation lens. And it's like, man, there's a lot of mother trucking rules out there that we don't have to subscribe to. And wow, do they make us small. And thank God it's been working for me. I'm like happier now than ever, but it was dark before, you know, March of last year.
And I'm so happy you made that parallel between, because I'm hearing that too in the background as you're sharing this, is that this is such a parallel to the work that you do as a dietitian specializing in eating disorders and body image. And I know even for myself, the way that I look can often dictate how willing I am to show up, how willing I am to be seen. What are some of those parallels that you see between the conversations you're having in your office and this world that you're also a part of as an entrepreneur? And what are we missing in terms of the correlation between how we relate to our bodies and how we relate to our businesses?
Oh, I love this. This is so good. So my favorite statement ever is body image is so important because it affects in how we participate in our own world. And body image, by definition, is just your own perception of your body. And so there's our perception, there's reality, there's all this other stuff, and it's so complicated. And we were talking about this earlier. I love some aesthetics, right? We love the things that can make us feel better and glamorous, and that might not be for everybody. So it's finding out what helps you feel the most confident in your own body, and how do we accept our body for what it is today without engaging in dangerous behaviors or conversations that cause us harm. And how this affects us in our business is if I don't feel confident in who I am, and I've unfortunately had to go through seasons of this. Like when I'm not feeling good in who I am as a person in my body, I'm not showing up for my people in the way they need me to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not only probably not being as successful in my business, and that's all fine, but my soul needs me to serve people. And so if it's affecting my ability to serve, then that has to be my non-negotiable. So, okay, now I need to reflect inward and figure this shit out.
Yeah. What are some of the practical things that we can do in those moments or on those days that we are noticing ourselves in a more negative conversation about our bodies and still know that our business is asking us to show up?
Yeah. Oh, such a good question. So these are some fun facts that I always start reminding myself or encouraging clients to remind themselves of. So we have like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Approximately 70% of them are negative, and most of them are not factual. So these are like beliefs that we've kind of like conditioned our brain to like keep coming up with. So like my visual is I'm like unsubscribe, like, and we can sometimes, I have clients visualize like putting those thoughts like up on a shelf, like in a pretty box. We're not ignoring it, but we can take it down later.
Yeah.
Like we might not just want to engage with those thoughts right now. And in my experience, that's where a lot of people get stuck. Like, oh, I'm having a bad this day. Now I can't do this in the way I want. And it's totally appropriate and usually the most kind thing we could do for ourselves to be like, okay, not today. I'm going to do what I can to be comfortable, and then I'm going to tend to this later. And so that would be my recommendation. And if on those days we're wearing clothes that's more comfy, if we're wearing sunglasses indoors, that's a vibe. Like
we're just allowing ourselves to be a vibe, to be the moment.
Allowing ourselves to be the moment, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. That's often what it sounds like for me, because I'll also have that reality check where, because it'll be from day to day. Totally. Even like yesterday, I filmed podcasts as well.
Yeah.
I was more well rested because now I'm on day 2. I had, a full night's sleep before where last night I didn't. And I looked in the mirror today. I know I look identical to how I looked yesterday. And my conversation about myself or my body or how it looks or how it feels is not the same as the conversation I had yesterday. And so I'll just note that the confidence I felt yesterday it's actually available to me today.
Yes.
It is, because especially a 24-hour difference, I know that I don't actually look different.
Yeah.
Other than maybe just feeling a little bit lower energy, et cetera. And just acknowledging that. But sometimes I have to have like that real talk with myself. Like, I love you, honey, but no.
I love you, honey, but no.
And your feelings are valid and untrue. It's so funny to hear you say that, because I've heard that stat before about how many thoughts we have and how negative they are, but I didn't think about like the fact that most of them are not based on truth.
Right.
It's our perception of truth.
1 million, or like other people's thoughts or truths or opinions.
Yes. Right. The conditioned truth. Okay, so that actually brings a bigger question to the table of, we live in a society now, not only are we hit with marketing campaigns and the beauty industry that is telling us beauty looks one way because that's the way that supports the thing that they sell. Combine that with social media and filters and, and then all the things that I'm in support of, women doing things and making their bodies look how they want them to look.
Totally.
Have at it.
Right.
And I'm always thinking about just what my place is within this world that we live and what I want my beauty standard to be, which is much easier said than done.
Yeah.
How do you help women to take all of that, this world that we're living in that is not pulling for us to feel confident because commerce would literally crumble if we did?
Right.
How do we find our confidence in a world that is telling us one standard of beauty is better than others?
Gosh, I think that is like the $1 trillion question.
We would be trillionaires if we could.
Should we figure that out today?
Yes.
Okay. Can't wait. But like, it's such an important question. And I feel like you almost answered it, or what I would do or recommend in how you asked that question. It's like, I'm trying to figure out what my standard is. And I think it does come back to like, we have to unsubscribe from this bullshit that's not ours. Because we have, thankfully, I think now we've done a better job than we have in the past with kind of normalizing the broader definition of beauty.
Yeah.
But God, do we have work to do? And I say this to my adolescent clients all the time. You could not pay me enough money to try to be a teenager right now.
Agreed.
And figure this out.
Agreed.
It is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so it's really helping people connect with their value system. I think that's like a really helpful tool. So it's like, cool, we can kind of pick and choose what makes the most sense for us. And then, okay, but what do you care about? And how do we get you more in alignment with that? So like a fun hack we've been experimenting with, if someone's having like a negative body image day or just struggling with their eating disorder, it's like we find these things that they can do in like 2 minutes or less that are actually in alignment with their value system. So one of my favorites is like, okay, what's a cause you care deeply about? Instead of getting yourselves like the latest beauty fad or whatever, we are going to donate $5 to this charity. And we're kind of like retraining our brain to be like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but at least I know I made an action that was in alignment with who I am at my core, who I want to be outside of this big $1 trillion decision or problem that we have.
Yeah.
And things like that can be super helpful.
I'd never even thought about that because, if I think about what I'm looking for in those moments, even where I'm in a lower, maybe body image or self-image conversation, is like, I'm kind of looking for a dopamine hit. Like I'm looking for a compliment or just like to feel cute or something. And you can get a dopamine hit, or you can get an emotional high from taking an action that's in alignment with your values that has nothing to do with how you look.
Right. Or texting someone you like, I'm thinking about you. I love you. Let's do lunch. Like those things.
And a lot of times that's what I'll do is I'll focus on pouring into someone else and remind myself that that's ultimately the most beautiful thing about me is my insides.
Yes. Exactly.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
all
so
the beauty
good.
right here.
So good.
Yeah.
So, in this conversation about changing and challenging the norms, that's one of the most badass things about you is the way you've challenged norms and legislation within your industry.
Yeah.
And I want to highlight this because, again, you just represent to me, like you're a powerhouse for so many different reasons, but the way that you challenge with like this little sparkle in your eye, like you're so powerful, but then like I almost don't know that like you have this power because you do it with this sense of playfulness and conviction that before I know it, I'm like, wait, she just literally changed like an entire industry. The last time we talked, I think you were like in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
We were FaceTiming and you're like at the Capitol. So will you talk a little bit about this? Because it applies to all of us, no matter what industry we're in. And I think what I learned from you in this is to not just take what we're given at face value and accept it as, well, this is just how things are, whether that's within beauty norms or within our industry. So talk a little bit about some of the changes that you've helped to make.
Oh, I'd love to. This is like my, what fills me up so much. And what's funny is you're asking me this question and I'm like, but you taught me to do that in so many other areas of my life. So I would love to tell you about how policy is sexy and needs us all. So I guess I'll tell you like a little bit of an origin story. So there was a moment and I had a tough session with a client and she had a terrible interaction with her primary care doctor. And it was about like, we call it weight stigma. So basically her doctor was just being like, hey, your weight's the problem, not your physical complaint, right? So she went in with something and the doctor kind of just brushed her off and said, if you lose some weight, you'll feel better, which is, in my opinion, shitty, lazy medicine. And so she was feeling discouraged. I was feeling discouraged. And I was like, you know what? I am going to email some people at the Arizona Department of Health and make I don't know. And so I was a lot more graceful in my messaging to them than how I was with my client earlier when we were just validating her experience. But I was like, hey, what are you guys doing about this problem in the state of Arizona? Here's some stats. We know it's an issue. And they responded and we set up some meetings. And then that actually became a really lucrative consulting arrangement, which was so fun. But what's even better is we made a ton of changes. Like, for example, Snap and WIC in Arizona now have no weigh policies. They do blind weights, so they're not using stigmatizing language or high risk weight shaming codes when participants are coming to try to seek services, which is huge.
Wow.
And what happened was, like, different states started hearing about this. So then I got emails from Wyoming, from Minnesota, where I'm from Colorado, being like, did you help do this? And I was like, well, I guess. And what was interesting about it is none of that was laborious. Like, we sent some emails, we like put some presentations together, and it kind of reminded me that, like, oh, these things are going to stay the same unless we start asking questions. And I've been so fortunate, like, a part of my master's program, I did a lot of policy and advocacy work, and it's like fun to just like be in a blazer and, you know, around people hustling and bustling. Like, it's a vibe in and of its own.
I just love you. This is what I mean. You're like, yeah, it's just fun to be in a blazer and just, you know, like, change the world.
You can't, like,
Yes.
you really can.
Yes.
And so we know there's so many things wrong with our healthcare, and we won't get into that. And I know for my patients who are struggling with an eating disorder, like, oh my gosh, the funding, the lack of research, the like how it usually takes people on average 5 years of suffering in order to feel competent enough or worthy enough to come into offices like mine. Like, wow, the opportunity for change is like right at our fingertips, and it can start, like, if we start asking questions, you know, and getting in conversations with the right people.
Yeah. And so it really does come back to that spirit of curiosity and being willing to send, for some, that might be an uncomfortable email, challenging norms, challenging the way things are done, whether that's within, maybe you're listening to this and that's an email you need to send within your own organization and you work in corporate, or, you know, it's just the reminder that, and another conversation I had just this morning with another guest is the reminder that we get to say how our experience goes in a lot of areas of our life. Not to say that there won't be friction or there won't be challenges or pushback, but it's like when you get that conviction to act on it, because women like you who are willing to act and willing to send the email and willing to advocate for themselves or others, like, that's who's changing the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's fun is, like, also, if someone doesn't respond to your email, you can send them another one. That's what I like to do.
Just with, again, a twinkle in her eye.
Yeah, just like, or we can ask somebody else, because, and that's something I've learned. I've had some really brilliant mentors, but don't ask people questions who can only tell you no. So don't send an email to your boss asking to change something if the only answer they can give you is no. Make sure you're asking people who have the ability to say yes.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, sometimes that can be discouraging. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
But
yeah. How would you know? Like, is you just get a no in the first place, or you just kind of know the ones that are only going to give a no?
Like, so if you're in your own organization and, like, you kind of know what your boss is capable of, then I wouldn't go there. Maybe there's someone else. Yeah. Maybe, like, for example, our legislators, they have a ton of influence. So if you have some local or state issues, talk to them about even national issues. Those are your people. Yeah. But if you are able, that's a great point. If you are able to decipher if someone can tell you no, don't ask them. Don't waste your time, and don't put yourself in a situation where you can get discouraged.
Sure. Yeah. I'm laughing thinking about, like, as kids, like, you kind of know which parent to go to with which request.
Exactly. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, this is the adult version of that.
That's the adult version of that.
Go ask your father. That's the adult version of go ask your father. Oh my goodness. So, you know, you shared also a lot about just shedding old beliefs and patterns that were in your way, whether that relates to your business or just the way you relate to yourself. What have been some of those patterns that you've had to confront yourself about in the last, 16 months as you've had this huge change in your business? What were the roots within your own habits and patterns and ways of thinking that had to shift? And then how did you shift them?
I think like the first visual that comes up for me is like, I feel like I threw a ton of spaghetti at the wall in the beginning. And what I mean by that is I was very willing to try things out and see if it was helpful or not. You know, like the carefronting part was like life changing, and I would go as far to say life saving. Like Expanders in March of last year was like my Hail Mary. Like I was like, what do I got to lose? And, you know, being in a position like that, I think made it possible for me to be like, okay, I'm willing and able to, resourceful enough to try a bunch of things out. And I was at a place where I either was going to be stuck in the same stuff or not. And so when you're auditing your life and you're looking at relationships that aren't serving you anymore, was really painful. And I think there's part of me that was like, do I try to save this? Am I the problem? Is this person in my life the problem? Are these people in my life? Is my business the problem? Like it was, and
who's the villain here?
Who's the villain? And I think it was my old belief system was like this villain. And so I had to give myself permission to like be really messy for a long time, which I think my circumstances growing up, I was this performer. So like to be a messy version of myself, to not do the right thing all the time, or to have all this permission to make mistakes, that was like a daily consistent like mantra I had to tell myself, like, okay, I don't have to have this shit sorted out today. It's okay if this doesn't work. Like, and that was really, really hard because I've had to kind of have everything together, or at least present that way, since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
And then how I was able to maintain it. God, I have the best people in my corner. I have people like you in my corner. I have so many powerhouses. I have family. I have guides. And I truly believe that if I'm like surrounded by such strong, successful, and it's a broad term, but women, like there's no way I won't be too. Like you can't fall. And yeah, and thank God I like took that risk and walked away from a lot of things that weren't serving me. And I'm just like so grateful, like, and thank God I'm on the other side. Like, holy, does that suck? Being in it?
It sucks being in it.
Oh yeah. I'm like
sure
getting
does.
hot thinking about it, but
Not in a good way.
not in a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It takes courage. And that's why I think having a community who will rally behind you, they can't do it for you.
Right.
But to know that you're held when you're like, will I be okay if I let all of this fall around me?
Yeah.
Because you have to just kind of let it fall away.
Oh my gosh. And I have so much compassion for anyone who feels like just in it, or like they're at that fork in the road where you're like, I can keep doing this same stuff and not be in alignment with who I am. And that's I think that's a fair choice. Like,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Or making a different choice, being like, I'm willing to drop it. And I also know that there's some privilege I've had that's allowed me to drop some things. Like
Absolutely.
I have a ton of privilege. And so I don't take that for granted. So it's like the attitude of gratitude always.
Yeah. What's the next pattern that you're currently carefronting yourself about?
So I have 2 littles at home, and I am from a family who values like legacy. Right. And it's so beautiful. And as you know, a lot of us, or at least people in my circle, were like, what are we trying to pass down to the next generations? What are we trying to keep in ours? Like, what's worthy, or what are we trying to show them or instill upon them? And I think that's what I'm really focused on right now, is like what I have. They're 2 and 4. And so what do I want them to remember about me? I want them to see like a working mom. I don't want them to see a dysregulated a nervous system mom. I don't want them to see a mom who wasn't paying attention. I want them to see a mom who is on, I really want them to see some balance and that this is what's possible. But I don't want them to not know me. I don't want to be so busy working or so caught up in my business that I'm not there with them.
What does that look like for you in this season? Because they are little. That's such a beautiful age.
Oh, yeah.
What shifts have you made, or what conversations do you have to have with yourself? Because there's the ambitious side of you and then the side that has these priorities, these two beautiful priorities. And this is a conversation or a question that comes up a lot from women in our community, just wanting to hear stories of how other moms are doing it their way. So what does that look like for you right now in this season to prioritize both?
Yeah. I think I had to get really clear, and it's so easy, I think, as an entrepreneur to stay busy with things that maybe don't matter as much as these harder areas of life that do matter a lot. I don't know if that makes sense, but I can stay at the office a little bit later and then push off these decisions or how I want this to look for my boys. And, again, these beliefs that I had to unsubscribe from. But what I found that works for me now is I've kind of I feel like my life, honestly, nothing is the same as it was last year, which is wild. But I schedule time for myself. It's mommy knows when she's away. My kids know. We have this beautiful health club that we are proud members of. So my kids know when they go there. I get to go to the gym or have a glass of wine in the health club. It's life-changing if there's one near you.
This is my kind of health club.
Yes. I feel
my dietitian friend said it was okay.
Yes. It's the best.
Yeah.
And I know I have my time because what was happening is I was trying to do all of the things and be everyone to myself and them. And that was impossible.
Yeah.
And then I was burnt out and I was showing up like a worse version of myself to my kids, the things that matter the most. And so that's been super helpful. And finding that what makes the most sense to you. I know I probably need more time away from my kids. I need a few hours, a couple days a week. I need to be not with them so I can recharge and show up the way I want to. And I have some friends who are like, oh, I just need 30. And I was like, I love that for you. Love that for you.
Yes.
I need a little bit more time to regroup and to come back to me. And then I know when I'm with them, I am in my mommy mode. This is who I am. This is who they're seeing. And I've noticed such a change in them since all in this start, and I mean, obviously they're 2 and 4, but so they're changing all the time, but I feel like I'm the happiest version I've ever been. And they are so happy. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. If it's enough for me.
Yeah. Which is all wrapped into this beautiful theme we keep coming back to of rewriting the quote unquote rules handed down to us by anyone else or by society, and really finding your own authentic truth for motherhood, for how you relate to beauty and your body image, and obviously for business too. It's simple, but also so complex.
And it's way easier said than done.
Yeah. I just feel so lucky to get to know and witness women's transformations like yours. You have inspired me so much.
It's everything.
You really have. And, as you enter this next phase, you went through, just like I did, a year of a lot of change and making some really hard decisions.
Yeah.
What would you say you're most excited for, either in your personal life or your business or both, in this next 16 months?
I think my takeaway or what I'm most excited for is if you, I couldn't have imagined this. There was no I did not have a vision. And how lucky I was. I think there was part of me that when I didn't have a vision for what I'm trying to do, I was almost crap, am I doing something wrong? Am I, what am I missing? I need a vision. I need a goal. I couldn't have dreamt this shit up if I tried. And I think that was actually such a gift. And so I'm if I could get from point A to this point B where I feel I wake up every day and I get to ask myself, okay, what am I doing today that makes the world a better place? It's always what I ask myself. And then like, what am I doing today to make my kids' world better for them, right? So like, how am I showing up for them? And I got to this point. Like, that's pretty amazing. So I'm so excited for what, if I can do that in 16 months, what is this next 16 months going to look like? And I'm going to keep following my gut and my heart. And I don't think I'm going to be disappointed, but I'm going to keep those two values in mind and play a hell of a lot.
A hell of a lot more.
Hell of a lot.
That's what I was saying to the girls. We did a quick little reunion, Expanders reunion call, Zoom call the other day. And I said, every Expanders retreat, and you've been to all three so far. Yeah. So like, they each have a different vibe, and it's not me that decides it. I think collectively, the people who are going to be there start to like infuse their energy. And I said, Nashville feels so fun. I mean, we're going to get business done. We're going to focus on expansion, of course, but it feels like there's an energy of fun. And I think that's what we all need. So, if we'll link all the info in the show notes for how people can learn about Expanders and what that is and apply. But
life-changing, life-saving.
I mean, literally, since we're talking about it, who would you say it's for? And what would you say to a woman who's like, God, I'm calling in expansion and wondering if this is like the right room for her?
Mm-hmm. I think if you're at this point where you're like, oh, maybe this is for me, you got to go with your gut.
Yeah, I agree. Usually almost all of the rooms that I've put myself in or things I've invested in, I just know. I'm like the easiest sales call anyone's ever had. I'm like, my soul told me I need to be here. I didn't read your sales page. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and that's how I felt about Expanders. I was like, oh, this is for me. It was so funny. It was like, well, it was my Hail Mary. I don't want people to be at Hail Mary or to go to Expanders. But if you feel called to it, I say, trust yourself. There's a reason for that. I believe in the divine and timing. Mm-hmm. And I would say Expanders is for someone, like, if you feel like you need people on your side or on your team that you can trust, if you want a community of like soul sisters, that's how I would describe it. Mm-hmm. The text chains are amazing. We're in constant communication. My like Rolodex of people who I can go to for advice or connection, comfort, to even mentor, like the reciprocal relationships. Again, life-changing, life-saving. So if any of that seems like what you need, then like, let's go, baby.
Yeah. Let's go, girls.
Yeah, let's go, as the queen would say.
As she would say. And for those that haven't been around Powerhouse Women long enough to hear what Expanders is, it's our retreat we do twice a year for 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. It's for women who are at a specific stage of business, but we create containers no matter what stage of business you're at. And the Powerhouse Women event is another where, what we're speaking to here is that you deserve to be in community who sees you and relates to you as your higher self. And essentially that's all that we do for each other within the Expanders retreat.
I know.
And it's just beautiful to witness what can happen within that. I see it in myself, but I really see it in all of you. And I'm just so grateful we got to spend this time together. Where can everybody find you, connect with you, learn about working with you and in your practice? Tell us where we can internet stalk you.
Oh, of course. TaylorAasandNutrition.com is where you can find me. And I think too, like if anyone's ever struggled with just like their if their relationship with food feels a little sticky, your body image feels a little sticky. There's a beautiful quote by this clinician, Ellen Satter, that's like, food and your body should take up a small space of your life, right? It's an important space, but we want it to be small so there's room for everything else. If it feels like it's impeding on other spaces, that's like worthy of a conversation with someone maybe like myself. I can connect you with a bunch of brilliant clinicians throughout the country. Like, I just feel like most people, they wait until it's pretty extreme or severe in order to start, working on these things. And I just don't wish that upon anybody. Like, the sooner you get in and start talking about it, the easier the healing is.
That's such a brilliant point. And you'd put something on your Instagram about that, how it was either on your Instagram or your website, but just how there's probably a lot of women too who in our community, right, we're ambitious, we're focused on so many other things. we may not realize how much, if those conversations start to become more dominant, how much more energy we could have for growing our businesses or
1
playing
million.
and resting or investing into our family. And I didn't grow up with a lot of models around seeking help for
Yeah.
things like body image or my relationship with food. So that's such a great and beautiful reminder that you just deserve to have support. And there will be phases where maybe your relationship with your body and with food shifts.
Totally.
And you don't have to just suffer through it.
Yeah.
Right?
No. We no suffering in silence.
We're going to carefront you right here.
We're going to carefront you right now.
Okay, so this will be a fun question to ask. I ask every single guest this question at the end of our interviews. And you've had such a powerful, transformative, expansive last year and a half. I want to give you an opportunity to just celebrate that. And we just call it a powerhouse moment. It could be anything big or small. And yes, you can have more than one, but what is at least one powerhouse moment that you want to celebrate right now? When I ask that question, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think being in this room with you right now is like it's just such a privilege. And to feel worthy of sitting in conversation with you and having the honor of, being asked to do this feels like such a powerhouse moment. I'm so grateful for this community you've created and for welcoming me in all the versions of me, because I feel like there's been a few, some messy, some a little more put together. And I feel like this is my powerhouse moment. Like I feel good in this spot with you, and you've given me that, and I could not be more grateful.
And every single version of you has been worthy. It's like, and I think back on my own journey too, but I love hearing you acknowledge your connection to that worthiness, because that's ultimately, I think, where all the magic starts to happen too. It's so good.
We love some magic.
Yes. Taylor, this has been so much fun. And I cannot wait to watch the next expansion, because you're just not getting rid of me now. So be warned. You've been warned.
Best ever. It's perfect.